Wall Street shrugs off concerns over rising bond yields to snap a 4-day losing streak. Although indices remain on track to end September with losses, bond yields hover around levels last seen in 2007. Stocks in the Asia-Pacific opened lower despite a positive handover from Wall Street. The GIFT Nifty is indicating a negative start for the Indian market. Oil holds steady. Brent crude closes flat around $93 a barrel as Russia somewhat eases its fuel export ban. A stronger dollar also prevents any sharp rise in prices. A CNBC TV 18 exclusive, JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon says the optimism on India is completely justified. Estimates that the inclusion of Indian bonds in their EM index will enable additional foreign inflows of around $25 billion into India. Cautions that the US should stop thinking of China as a 10-foot giant and negotiate better trade investments with India. ITC Sanjeev Puri says the hotel business demerger is on track with its 15-month timeline, adds that the business will be debt-free soon after the demerger is complete and will significantly strengthen the group. Further says that ITC will allocate more capital to grow its FMCG, paperboards and agri-businesses. That's the CNBC TV 18 exclusive. Good morning in the Mumbai News Center. I'm Sonal Bhutra. You're watching Power Breakfast. Those are the top headlines, a lot of exclusives, and of course, we'll get those conversations through the course of the show and through the course of the day as well. But as always, let's take a look at what the Asian markets are doing. It was a strong handover that we got from Wall Street, but that's not converted into a positive cheer for the Asian markets. Barring Shanghai as we speak, most of the indices are in the red. Taiwanese index is down 0.4%. The Hang Seng is down 0.8%. Nikkei has erased all the gains from yesterday. That index is down 0.8%. A lot of inflation data which is awaited, and that is something which is keeping the Asian markets on the edge. And if we take a look at GIFT Nifty as well, because that one is indicating that the start for our own markets could be in the red. The implied open is suggesting a 46-point downtick if we look at the GIFT Nifty right now at that 19,654 mark. Okay, that's all about the Asian markets. With that, let's talk about the US markets now. Wall Street finished with modest gains on Monday, snapping a 4-day losing streak. The S&P added 17 points, the Nasdaq gained almost 60 points, while the Dow Jones inched higher by 43 points. But of course, let's talk about the big exclusive interview of the day. JP Morgan Chase Chairman and CEO Jamie Dimon feels the optimism about India is completely justified. In a freewheeling chat with Shireen Bhan on the sidelines of the JP Morgan India Investor Summit, Dimon spoke on a range of issues, from geopolitics to China to artificial intelligence. He also believes that the Russia-Ukraine war and economic issues in China have nations rethinking foreign policy and could realign supply chains. Let's listen into his comments.
I love coming here. I've been coming here since 2005. We've gone from 6,000 employees to 60,000 employees. They travel the world, and it's not call centers anymore. It's everything, technology, analytics, cyber. It's extraordinary. Tomorrow I go to a new Mumbai center with 10,000 people. And then look at this conference. I remember 8 years ago or 9 years ago when it started, it was like 50 or 75 clients. Now it's 700 investors from around the world. 70 companies or 100 companies presenting. I think the optimism about India is actually completely justified.
Well, what do you believe is driving that optimism today? What would be the 2 or 3 things that you believe are driving the confidence and the optimism in the India story today?
Well, first of all, I think Modi's been doing a very good job, and things like Aadhaar to get a bank account for 700,000 people, simplifying taxes, trying to open up more for foreign direct investment, the national infrastructure program. But just to give you universities here, so we're not the only bank here. There are lots of the banks with a lot of people, but so is Accenture, McKinsey, and obviously you have your local, Tata, et cetera. So those things are driving optimism. It's not just because of the complications with China. I think that's an opportunity. I think that some of this optimism would have been there anyway.
You talked about Aadhaar and you talked about some of the things that we've done on the digital side. What's your takeaway as far as what we've done on the fintech and the digital payment thing and UPI? I mean, what's your team telling you about the strength of digital public infrastructure and how India's been able to build on that?
Yeah, well, it's excellent. I remember coming years ago and telling our people, you better study what they're doing in India because they're ahead of us in a bunch of things. But I can't answer the question because I'm about to meet with some of them, I think, right after this. So it's one of the great reasons you travel. You learn a lot. But they've built some great companies here.
So given the opportunity that you see in India, what is that going to potentially mean now for your plans for India? You talked about how JP Morgan's grown here in India, both in terms of the size of the business as well as the headcount. What could we expect from here on?
Yeah, I think it's going to be more of the same. And go to the corporate side, investment banking side of our business. We used to cover 10 or 20 companies here, and we did research on them. Now we cover 150 plus. We used to bank 20 or 30 multinationals coming to India. Now we bank, I'm going to say 500 multinationals. So we help multinationals. And also we bank all your Indian companies in London, Singapore, America, as we help them finance or buy and do M&A. So my guess is next 20 years, that'll just double again.
Just a quick follow-up on the inclusion into the bond index, and there's all kinds of estimates on what that could mean in terms of inflows into India. Anywhere between $25 to $40 billion is the estimate over the next year and a half as the inclusion works its way out. Typically, what's been the previous experience of a country being included in the bond index? What are the implications in the medium to long term?
Yeah, so our folks think it'll be about $25 billion. It has to be bought, so it gets bought over time. But I think it's a wonderful thing when you index like that, what it means about your capital markets, your rule of law, your transparency, your government financing. The indirect effect is more important. What you want is capital, foreign direct investment, both in plant and equities and things, innovative companies and stuff like that. So it's just one more very positive sign.
Speaking of signs, I want to understand from you what your key takeaways about China at this point in time. You were there in May, and you said that the outlook that you had on China was cautious when you talk about the risk rewards at this point in time. How do you feel about China today? And do you believe that we're done with the unraveling as far as the real estate sector is concerned, or we're far from it?
Yeah, well, I think far more important, to me, this Ukraine war, oil, gas, food, migration, it's affecting all global relationships, very importantly, the one between America and China. I think America takes it very seriously. I'm not quite sure the rest of the world does. To have a European democratic nation invaded under the threat of nuclear blackmail, and I think there's been a good response. But it's going to affect all of our relationships until somehow the war is resolved. And India is going its own way. They've made their priorities quite clear about national security and what that means. Mm-hmm. We're still there, and obviously I'm an American patriot, so governments are going to set foreign policy, not JP Morgan. But I'm happy, and I think Americans should stop thinking that China is a 10-foot giant. Our GDP per person is 80,000, theirs is 15. We have all the food, water, and energy we need. We've got the unbelievable benefits of free enterprise and freedom. Mm-hmm. And they're going to have their own issues, and I'm not making fun of them. They're going to have their own issues about demographics and energy and climate, et cetera. I like the fact that the Americans are engaged with them now. Tony Blinken, Janet Yellen, Jake Sullivan, and there are legitimate issues around national security, unfair trade. I hope they resolve them. We don't have to be hostile about it. There are going to be changes. It is definitely not over yet.
So more engagement is what you would like to see?
More engagement, and I understand it's going to cause more, what you call a little bit, it won't be an unraveling. I think it'll just be a change of flows over time about certain trade and investment type of things. And by it's not just America. Every country is relooking at its what is in national security. Do I have reliant energy lines? Do I need semiconductors from China? Where do I get my rare earths from? The world is, Ukraine woke everyone up to that, and that's a permanent state of affairs now.
Okay, you can catch excerpts of that exclusive conversation with Jamie Dimon all day today, only on CNBC TV 18. And with that, we'll slip into a short break. When we return, we'll tell you how all the overnight global cues will impact our own markets in our Power Prep segment coming up next. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. This is time for our Power Prep segment. We now have our research team joining in with what the trade setup is looking like, the stocks that are likely to be in the news, and all the action from the F&O space as well. Hey guys, a very good morning to all of you. Ekta, let me come across to you first up. Looks like another down day for our own markets.
Morning. Well, yesterday, yes, the markets did trade flat after what was a range-bound session. The broader markets did outperform. The markets seem to have shrugged off concerns which have been weighing continuously on our markets in the past couple of weeks, such as higher rates from the Fed, crude prices, as well as the recent FII selling. But that seems to have resurfaced in today's trading session. In fact, talking about the FII figure, they net sold over 2,300 odd crores in yesterday's trade as well. The II's net bought around 1,580 odd crores. But the larger picture to concentrate on is also factors such as the inclusion of India bonds in the JP Morgan EM index. We just heard Jamie Dimon say that it will enable additional foreign inflow of around $25 billion. So the larger sentiment positive, and whether that turns for our markets on a sustainable basis in the next couple of trading sessions is something to watch for. US markets closed higher. Asia is mixed. Gift Nifty is indicating a weaker start. Macros, the German yields have hit 11-year highs. Inflation from Singapore, Australia, Japan will be watched, and US GDP as well as initial jobless claims down the week.
Okay, all right. That's the market setup. Thank you, Ekta, for joining us with that. A lot of stocks on our radar. Abhishek has that list.
Well, to begin with Tata Steel, Moody's have upgraded Tata Steel to investment grade with a Baa3 issuer rating. Outlook remains stable. RPP Infra Projects, they have won orders worth rupees 482 crores. GR Infra Projects, they are L1 bidder for 2 ropeway projects in Uttarakhand on hybrid annuity mode. Salasar Techno, they have commissioned new zinc galvanization plant of an annual capacity of 96,000 metric tons. Mankind, they have commenced commercial operations at their Udaipur plant. Apar Industries, they are holding a board meet on 28th of September to consider fundraising. DB Realty, they'll invest about rupees 2,300 crores or more in hospitality assets. Now, Welspun Corporation, they plan an investment or capex of about 350 crores in Telangana for water tanks and PVC pipes facilities. Wipro, they have sold buildings and a 14-acre plot in Chennai for a consideration of more than rupees 266 crores. Back to you.
All right, those are some stocks that are on our radar today, but let's talk about all the cues from the F&O space as well. Manglam is joining us now. Hey, Manglam.
Good morning. So yesterday the market was in a fairly tight band of about 130 odd points, less than 1%, that is. But if you just take a look at the highs and the lows of the Nifty and equate it with the 20-day moving average and the 50-day moving average, you'd see that a lot of those moves were largely technical in nature itself. And now at 19,632 is where the Gift Nifty suggests an implied open as well. The Nifty Bank outperformed yesterday, bounced off the 50-day moving average. The question is whether it goes all the way up to that 45,000 mark, which is closer to the 20-day moving average itself or not. The FIs, they continue to sell in the cash market. Yesterday's selling makes it a 10,000 crore worth sell by the FIs in the cash market over the last 5 trading sessions. And that's not all. They also unwound a lot of positions and added a lot of short positions in index futures to the tune of 15,000 contracts. And as a result of which, their long exposure has dropped from 53% to 49%. And conversely, the short positions have increased beyond the long positions at 51% itself. But the one data point that really stands out, and this is something that will give bulls a little support, is that they've written 1 lakh puts on the short side. And most of those puts have been written on the Fin Nifty as well as the Nifty Bank. Nifty Bank options, the FIs sold close to around 4,300 odd crores. And that tells you that the Nifty Bank perhaps has turned a corner, and that is something we'll be watching out for. Just the active strikes on the Nifty Bank, 44,800 put for a premium of 212 rupees, telling you that 44,600 is an important support. It is Tuesday, so it's Nifty Fin expiry. Those are the levels that you're watching out for. And for the Nifty itself, it is a range of 19,600 to around 19,800. Watch out for a couple of stocks. Delta Corp, after a big move on the downside yesterday, has come out of F&O ban. And Balrampur Chini, after a big move on the upside yesterday, has gone into F&O ban.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us and prepping us up for this trading day ahead. With that, we'll slip into another break. And when we come back, we'll get you all the cues from the commodities market. Stay tuned for that. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast. Well, we spoke about equity markets and a lot more, but it's time to talk about commodities. A lot of action there. Manisha Gupta is joining us as always with the update. Hey, Manisha, good morning.
Hi, morning, and thank you for that. Well, the theme clearly has been about the dollar index, which is trading at a 10-month highs right now. And the focus is going to be all the inflation data that's coming in this week, whether it's from Singapore, Australia, Japan, Germany, and US as well, for that matter. And within this, we have seen a decline come in for the crude oil prices. We're still holding at $93 a barrel, but off the kind of highs where we were trading yesterday. And that is because the markets do believe that there are demand concerns going forward with the interest rates higher. Russia also has said that the fuel export ban is going to be less severe, and that the markets are concerned about the U.S. debt ceiling crisis. The China GDP downgrades that we've seen coming across Wall Street banks also seems to be weighing on. There is pressure not just in crude but in copper, which is trading near 4-month lows, and the gold prices also have come off with the dollar index hitting a 10-month highs.
Okay, some relief in crude oil prices. Thank you, Manisha, so much for joining us with that update. With that, we'll wrap on this edition of Power Breakfast. As we do that, we leave you with visuals of the Indian women's cricket team celebrating their gold medal at the Asian Games. A first for India after defeating Sri Lanka in the finals by 19 runs. Thank you for watching. Bazaar Morning Call comes up next.